Hello and welcome to Valley Girls, the bi-weekly podcast exploring everything there is to see, do, try, eat, and experience in New York's Hudson Valley by talking to the makers, the doers, the growers, the creators, and all the unique voices of the Hudson Valley. I'm Jenny Leifer.
And I'm Jennifer Santiago, and together as the Valley Girls, we're telling the Hudson Valley story one episode at a time. We're so happy you're here.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Valley Girls.
And it's not just any episode, it's our season 3 finale. But don't worry, this is not goodbye. It's just see you in September.
But we've brought together old friends and new friends for a supersized finale to leave you with a long list of ways to fill your summer here in the Hudson Valley.
Yeah, fall gets all the glory here in the Hudson Valley with the leaf peepers and the apple pickers descending on the region. And don't get me wrong, I love fall too. But for me, there's nothing like summer. And everything in summer is more fun with friends. So we've brought along some of ours. A couple of them you already know. We've got Rebecca Ash, who you know from every episode on season 2 with a capital idea covering all the things to do and see in the Capital District. And Danielle Davidson, whom you also know from season 2, where she was on every episode with her 411 of Westchester, giving us everything to do in the river towns.
And we're also joined by a first-time guest, Melaine Rotkamp. Melaine is the president and CEO of Destination Dutchess, working to promote tourism in Dutchess County, and also works with Hudson Valley Tourism, the 10-county region designated by I Love New York to promote tourism for the area across Albany, Columbia, Dutchess, Greene, Orange, Putnam, Rensselaer, Rockland, Ulster, and Westchester counties. Welcome, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us.
So excited.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Oh, by the way, Melaine, we didn't tell you how this works, but once you come on, then you have to be best friends with us forever.
Excellent.
Poor Danielle reached out to me in a Slack channel last year and said, hey, I'd love to come on your podcast and talk about what I do in Westchester. And then we were like, guess what? You're on every episode now because we love you.
I love it.
Yep.
I love it.
It's so fun.
The way it works.
All right. We have challenged this whole group of panelists to come up with their summer wish list or their summer bucket lists, if you will. So we've all dreamed up our top 5 things that we hope to do this summer. We have not compared notes. So we're all hearing each other's lists for the first time right along with you. So don't worry, if you're listening on the go and you can't write down all the ideas and the links right now, we're going to summarize all of this for you in a blog post at valleygirlspodcast.com.
So we'll go around, take turns, everyone sharing one of their list items until we've all shared our whole lists. Feel free to chime in, especially when there's overlap or if someone has something that you feel particularly inspired by. And this time, even Jen and I are participating. We've got our own lists that we have not even shared with each other. So I am excited to see what everyone has come up with. Jen, why don't you start us off?
Yeah, yay, I'm excited. So, all right, there are a lot of ways to think about this. And at first I started with categories, which I know some of you said you had done. And I was going to say sculpture gardens and then flower gardens and then restaurants. But then I just decided, I feel like ever since we've graduated from high school, or maybe since college, I've been trying to recreate that feeling of summer, that feeling of like time and long evenings and just stuff to do. So I'm like, what are the 5 things that to me just say summer? So my first one is baseball. To me, summer is all about baseball. I grew up with my dad being a Mets fan. I have very fond memories of falling asleep on the couch in the summer, listening to a Mets game playing in the background. So we are super lucky to have the Hudson Valley Renegades right here in Dutchess County in Fishkill. The Renegades are a high A affiliate of the New York Yankees. If you're a baseball fan, you know what that means. If you don't know what that means, it means they are an affiliate of the Yankees. So a lot of prospects, especially college players, will start out with the Renegades. So there's a very good chance that you might go to a Renegades game this summer and see somebody who 5 or 6 years from now is a starter for the Yankees. So it's really fun and exciting. Plus, is it going to Yankee Stadium? No. Do tickets start at $6? Yes. You can sit behind home plate for $22. And then a bonus, another thing that to me screams summer is a good fireworks show. So the Renegades have Fireworks Fridays all throughout the summer. So if you've got tickets to a Friday game, you stick around afterwards, you get a fireworks show. You don't have to worry about parking or bringing your blanket to sit on the grass and getting ticks. You're just sitting right there in the stadium and you're watching the fireworks. I love that. That's super exciting to me. They actually have a mega fireworks show on July 3rd. So check that out if you're making your holiday weekend plans. And I found out when I was looking into this that they have a sensory safe suite at the ballpark, which is so great. So if you've got somebody in the family who is on the autism spectrum or has some sensory processing issues, and you would really love to do a family day out at the ballpark, but it's going to be a bit much for somebody with you, it's a place where you can kind of go, decompress, turn down the volume for a bit. So I love baseball, and I think we're super lucky to have access to the Renegades. So that's my first item. And then, Rebecca, I'm going to kick it over to you.
Well, there's a reason that we've been friends for over 30 years because my whole process for this was I'm feeling really nostalgic. And I don't think that you and I are the only people doing that in this time. So I was trying to kind of recapture the magic and the feeling that you got while inviting some new things in. But 4 out of 5 of my things are things that I do habitually in the summer. And I only do that, and I'm sure some other people do too. But it's interesting when you go back and relive it as an adult compared to what you felt as a child. Hopefully, I can recapture some of that. But my first one on the list is Tanglewood, which I'm just realizing is not actually in New York. It's in Massachusetts.
Close enough.
However,
It's close to the Hudson Valley.
exactly. I think a lot of people around here are very familiar with Tanglewood. If you're not, you are super snoozing on this amazing place to go. It is the most magical place I know. It is the home of the Boston Pops. They have a summer concert series where they have all kinds of concerts and events. And it's just the most beautiful place that I've ever been. And I know that you can still picnic in, which some places don't allow you to do anymore. You're not allowed to bring in like anything other than a bag that you can see through, and you're not allowed to tote your own stuff in. But Tanglewood, you still can do that, especially if you're sitting on the lawn seats, which is my go to. They're the cheapest, but they're also the most fun. They've got these two jumbotrons where you can see what's going on inside the shed, but you're more comfy, you're lounging, it's more like relaxed and chill. I've been there, I've been going there for years. And especially for 4th of July, I've seen, well, James Taylor goes every year. And once I saw Ray Charles there, which was incredible. And I'm not able to get James Taylor this year. He sells out like that. So the nosebleed seats are all like sold out by now. But I did see that A Prairie Home Companion is coming in. I absolutely love them. And there's been some change in the past, like I'd say 8, 9 years or so, where it's not on as often as it used to be, but they are coming, and it does have Garrison Keillor, who I love. And so I snatched up tickets right away on June 21st, but there is a whole array of great stuff coming to Tanglewood this year. We've got Nas is playing with the Boston Pops, which mixing those together, I'm like, oh, I really want to see this. John Batiste is coming. John Mulaney is coming. So it's not just music. You've got him as well. And of course, James Taylor is on the 3rd and the 4th. But so, yeah, not a summer for me unless Tanglewood is involved. So pack a picnic, grab a nice comfy blanket, bring someone that you love, and enjoy Tanglewood. That's my
Great one. That's a great one. Melaine, how about you?
So I'm just gonna piggyback on everyone's things because one of the cool things, Jennifer talking about the Renegades, is not only do you get to see up and coming players, but sometimes like current Yankees, if they're injured, they rehab there. So before they make it back to the bigs, they'll play a game in the minors or so, and they could be here in our stadium at Heritage Financial Park. So that's a really cool thing. And then Rebecca, Tanglewood is on my bucket list. I haven't been there yet, but I am a huge Boston Pops fan. And a fun fact, I don't know if your listeners know, but Keith Lockhart went to Royce Ketchum High School in Wappingers Falls. He is
No
a
way.
Valley guy. So that's a fun fact there about the Boston Pops. But I do, for summer, love outdoor art and concerts. So for our family, concerts on the lawn at Vanderbilt Mansion. They
Mm.
alternate Wednesdays with Statsburg State Historic Site. There's nothing better than sitting on a lawn with a picnic and your wine that you sneak in. And and the kids can run around in the background and they're not bothering anyone and you just listen to great music. So I love that so much. It's one of my favorite parts of summertime and doing that. And then on my summer art outdoor bucket list thing that I haven't done, I still haven't been to Opus 40. I still haven't been to Storm King. I still haven't been to Art Oh My. Like these are things that like I'm
Spoiler
so
alert, they're all
excited
on
I
my
haven't
list.
done, but I need to do them. Yeah, I know. So yeah, I did that category approach too, but
Yes,
outdoor experiences, art and music are fabulous.
love that.
I almost said land art and outdoor sculpture gardens as one of my categories, and I didn't because I had a feeling Jenny would do it. I am famously obsessed with Storm King, but anyway, all right, we'll let you get to that though, Jenny.
All right. All right. Danielle, how about you?
Awesome. Yeah. So I kind of organized mine by the changing seasons from late spring to
Ooh,
summer, just to
that
kind of bring us through the couple of months that we have upcoming. And to kind of piggyback on the picnic vibe, I have hiking and picnic at Untermeyer Gardens in Yonkers, New York. They have the most beautiful flower and landscaping arrangements, koi ponds. It overlooks the Hudson. And when the flowers are in peak bloom in late spring, early summer, it's just the most beautiful place to sit and relax. So I'm looking forward to bringing a huge sandwich from my favorite spots in the area and sitting out pretty much all afternoon.
I love that.
That's a great one.
That's brilliant. That's brilliant. Thank you all so much. So, okay, on to me. I did do the category thing. Some of them are isolated, but mostly the category thing. So, yes, I will say that I had outdoor concerts for sure in my list, but also specifically the outdoor sculpture park. So, I'm just going to piggyback on that. Not using that as my thing, but just to let you know, yes, Opus 40, beautiful environmental sculpture in Saugerties, created by a sculptor named Harvey Fight. And it's just gorgeous with dry stone ramps and pedestals and platforms and just all this blue stone quarry. It's just great. And then, of course, Jen's favorite, Storm King, I had on there. And yes, Art Oh My up in Columbia County in Ghent. And it's also a residency for writers, artists, architects, musicians, dancers, a whole bunch of different people. So that's a really cool place. Okay, so since that's a double, I'm going to do a different one. And for me, summer is not only about being outside, but swimming, all different places to go swimming. So, of course, there's local pools and things like that. But for my preference, I'm all about waterfalls and swimming holes. So, that's one of my favorites for summer. It's both nostalgic and current. So, some of the ones that I have loved is, of course, Minnewaska Lake and Owasting Falls in Ulster County. Some gorgeous, beautiful places up in the Shawangunk Mountains. In addition, part of Minnewaska Park is Sam's Point Preserve in Cragsmore. So this isn't necessarily swimming, but if you get a chance to go on that part of the park, you get to the Ice Caves Trail and it's nice and cool in the summer. So that's an amazing place. Also in that same region, Mohonk Preserve, there's a beautiful swimming hole called Split Rock, and it's via the Shawangum Path, which is the red path. There's about a 12-foot waterfall under a bridge, and it flows right into the chasm. It's just absolutely beautiful. So that's one of my other favorite places. And yes, I think I've mentioned this in our City It episode. That is one of the places, if you go to the very end of where the swimming area is, where it was well known to be a skinny dipping place in Ulster County, that you could go and, yep, you could go and just take it all off, let it all go. They have cracked down on that, so you won't see as many naked swimmers anymore. But
Ooh.
I know, but it was definitely known to be that. Other swimming holes that I have personally loved, Big Deep and Little Deep in Woodstock as a favorite of mine. Catterskill Falls in the Catskills, which is like Haynes
Mm.
Falls area. You can go in the water at the bottom of the falls. You can also see the top of the falls from a different path, but if you go to the bottom path, you can go in the water there. And one of my all-time favorites, just because of nostalgia, is on Platte Clove Road, just outside of West Saugerties. There is a beautiful swimming hole there. When I was back in high school, not that I'm aging myself here, but there was nobody there. It was just me and my friends. Occasionally we'd see other people show up. Now it is very popular, very well known, so it can be a little bit crowded. And then a new one that I learned of that now I have to go to because I just learned about it, is part of the New Baltimore Creek Preserve is Hanacroy Creek Preserve in New Baltimore. So there are some beautiful places in there that you can find some water. And yeah, I think we all know about Lake Taconic. That's a classic for me, childhood place. And one other place I've been to is Bel Air Beach in Pine Hill, which is near close to the Catskills. So yeah, so watering, swimming holes, waterfalls, all of that. So
That's a great
yeah,
list.
there you go.
It is.
And I'm sure there are many more, but those are just the ones that I could come up with on the spot. All right.
Funny because my second thing was going to a lake. That is something that is
Yay.
very summer to me because, like you said, going to Lake Taconic was like a canonical part of every summer. You can swim in the lake. There's lifeguards, there's showers there, there's a snack bar. Like, I will tell you, a core memory is having French fries and bomb pops on the sand at Lake Taconic. So that is on my list. Also, another one that we went to a lot when I was growing up is Wilcox. So that's Wilcox Memorial Park. That's in Stanfordville. They've got a lake. They've got pretty extensive hiking trails. They also have flush toilets. So, if you're going with little kids and you want to make sure that there's amenities, that's a good one. And then I am surprised that you didn't say, I don't know if you're going to say camping later. I thought you would say North South Lake because I
Yes.
know you love North South Lake.
I do love North South
And
Lake.
so
It was
that's
on
in
my
the
long list.
Catskills, and so
Yes.
that's another great place.
You can
So
do boating and
yeah,
all sorts of cool stuff there. Yes.
my summer plans are I'm going to go jump in a lake.
Beautiful.
All
Nice.
right.
Rebecca?
Well, again, my second one on my list was Lake George.
Oh yeah.
Not just the lake though. I mean the entire town of Lake George because it's more than just the lake. There's so much stuff to do up there and I've been going there since I was really, really small and I'm discovering more and more things as I get older that I'm now interested in because back in the day we would go camping at Lake Luzerne, Fourth Lake. There's some horseback riding at Bennett's Stable, which is now they have changed to Rocking Bee Ranch, still going strong. And this is going like 40 years that they've been around. And of course, on Lake George itself is all the steamboats. Have you guys been?
Mm-hmm.
It is
Minnehaha.
Yes, it is not summer unless you hear the
Mm-hmm.
Minnehaha departing and going on their excursion. And you can charter boat rides, you can take the Minnehaha or the Mohican or hang out on the beach. And the Lake George Village itself is much smaller now than when I was little.
Maybe you just
Suddenly,
remember it bigger. Is that
suddenly
possible?
yes, no, that's exactly it. Suddenly I'm like, I used to think this was huge. It's a
Yeah.
very small strip, but they still have all the great things like the soft serve ice cream and the fudge and the wax museum, where I swear they still have the same Frankenstein standing out in
Indeed.
front of the wax museum, wagging you on in and stuff. And I'm hoping they're going to upgrade him soon because last time I saw him, he was looking pretty weathered. But there's lots of camping in Lake George and around the area, and it's perfect for all your summertime activities. I'm really happy that lately they've been getting into more winter activities too. So that's great for the tourism of the tiny because Lake George is a very small place. But yeah, it's not summertime unless you go to Lake George. And they have what started out as Storytown. I'm aging myself
Oh
here. Started out as
yeah.
Storytown,
Yes.
turned into The Great Escape,
Yep.
and is now a Six Flags. So it's still the same park. They have renovated some of the older time cute Storytown stuff, but now I guess it's a full-time Six Flags, big old thing. But there's so much to do, and it is definitely not summer unless you go to Lake George at least once.
I second that one.
Mhm.
Don't forget too, one of the weird things, since Rebecca and I like the weird tourism. Remember when we talked to Brian J. Cano from the Haunted History Trail of New York State? There's that Lake George mystery spot. It's supposed to be like a
Yes.
vortex, I think. I'll put a link to it in the blog too. So if you happen to get up there, you can find the Lake George mystery spot, which apparently is kind of
Mhm.
cool, but very easy to miss. He said that he'll go there and watch people just be hanging around there and they don't know that there's a significance to that area. So
Well, that makes a lot of sense as far as the like kind of supernatural bent because of the Lake George battlegrounds, and
Mm-hmm.
there was so much going
The
on as
fort
far as
that's where it
history.
was. Yeah.
yep,
Mhm.
yep.
Cool.
Rebecca, did you go to Frontier Town and the North Pole and that little loop there with
Oh my
Storytown?
gosh,
Do you
yes.
remember that?
I love it. And what is it? Water Slide World is not there anymore. And
No.
do you remember Gaslight Village?
Yes.
Yes.
Oh my God, I forgot
I
about
can
that.
still hear the jingle in my head as well as
Oh.
the jingle for Water Slide World. Unfortunately, those places are not there anymore, but they will live on in my heart. But oh my gosh, it was so weird going to the North Pole in the summer and you're like, Santa, what's up? What
What are you doing here?
are you doing here?
I have so many childhood memories with my family, extended family, and also now with the twins. We have been going every single year, and they're going to be 21 this summer, and we're not going to
Nice,
miss it. So we're still
nice.
going up to Lake George, and we have a couple different places that we stay, sometimes camping, but oh, just the best. Definitely
Yeah.
summer. Great. Thank you. So, Melaine, on to you.
So we are coming upon next year the 250th anniversary of the Declaration of Independence. So you're going to start hearing a lot about Rev 250 and America 250. And there's nothing that I like better than food and drinks with my history. And so there's a lot of ways to do that in the Hudson Valley. So on the Hudson Valley Tourism website, which is travelhudsonvalley.com, there's a section for all the Rev 250 stuff going on. But one of the things I want to talk about are all the historic taverns. So I could eat my way through my history. Some favorites, obviously, the Beekman Arms in Rhinebeck is the oldest continuously operating inn in America, and you can dine at the tavern there in their colonial tap room. And that started in 1704. A place I haven't been yet that I need to get to is down in Tappan, the 76 House. It's America's oldest tavern from 1668.
Wow.
Garvin's in New Paltz is a favorite. If you haven't been there, you walk in and he makes you feel like you've been friends your whole life.
It's amazing there.
That's from 1759. Up in Albany, you've got the Old English Pub, which we've been to. My son lives
Hey,
up there.
Rebecca
That's
did a
from
whole
the
segment on that on our
1730s.
in season
It's
2.
a great spot, but there's so many historic taverns and places to go. The Bird and Bottle Inn in Garrison from 1761. So you could do all that. And then two other really cool things are Dutchess County Historian does a historic tavern trail. And so
Ooh.
every month there's a different one and you can find out where those are. And he's so funny and he tells a good story about the history. So it's going to be a lot about that coming up. And then we are hosting an event at Fishkill Farms on June 28th called a Revolutionary Cider Celebration. So we're going to have tours through the orchard and talks with Josh Morgenthau of Fishkill Farms. That's a century-old farm, historic in its own right. We're going to have a cider historian there doing a talk. We're going to have tastings of colonial food and a talk with that. Jonathan Crook is going to be there. If you know Jonathan Crook, he's an amazing storyteller, telling tales of the Hudson Valley through the Revolution. So that's really fun. We're excited about that on June 28th at Fishkill Farms.
Oh, I'm going to
I
that. That's
knew we were
amazing.
going to like you, Melaine.
Yeah, yeah.
We're
You
going to
fit
have a
right in
good time
here.
together.
Yeah, that's
Awesome.
nice. Awesome. Thank you.
Poor Danielle, who is like 15 years younger than all the rest of us, and we're like all these reminiscings, and she's like, I grew up in Westchester, and I didn't know any of these places, but that's okay. She's our young friend to guide us.
Well, and
No,
Myers, that's on my list too. I haven't been there yet either, and that
it's
looks
beautiful.
amazing.
Yeah, but I will say that a few of the watering holes that you guys mentioned, I mean, I went to school up at Marist College and I had family up in Poughkeepsie, so I know a lot of those watering holes and visiting
That's
them over the
right.
summer. But what I was going to say for my second stop is actually something that's popping off in Westchester are local music festivals. And last year, Sleepy Hollow had their first Sleepy Hollow Music Festival at Kingsland Point Park in Sleepy Hollow, obviously. And so it's returning this year. It was a huge success last year. There were food trucks and a beer garden and vendors and music all day long. And then the bands, local to national touring artists, hang out in the crowd with everyone throughout the day too. So it's super fun. Of course, the Headless Horseman has to make an appearance. If it's an event in Sleepy, you're seeing the Headless Horseman run
Wait,
around.
I
So he
feel
runs
like was
around.
Blues Traveler there? I feel like Brian went there and sent us a video, Rebecca. Do you remember that of Blues Traveler performing at the
I think
festival?
so. I
I
think
think
so.
you're right. I
Yeah.
think you're right. Yeah. It's an all day thing. I mean, it starts at 11 or something like that and runs to 8 p.m. or so. But It's right on the water. It's the most beautiful view. And then people take their boats over from Piermont and from the Tarrytown barges and dock themselves right outside. And they're all just hanging out, boozing on the boats too. So it's just a really fun day. This year it's happening on June 7th. So it's right around the corner, but it's super fun. And they're always selling tickets day of as well. So that's my highlight for mid-June.
Nice.
That's great. That's a really good one. I
Yeah.
like that. So I'm going to go a little out of order to piggyback on Melane's historic taverns, which was brilliant, by the way. I love that, combining my love of history and food. So I'm going to go with more traditional historic sites in the Hudson Valley that I personally love. At the top of my list is Olana in Columbia County. It is, of course, the masterpiece of Frederick Edwin Church, who was a student of Thomas Cole, who we'll also talk about. And it's just so incredible. When you go to Olana, you can see the artist's home, studio, the beautiful design landscape. He had, I think, 250 acres of the landscape there, carriage roads, the Persian inspired house, and it's all just with beautiful panoramic views of the Hudson Valley and Catskill Mountains because it's over on that side of the river, so you can see the Catskills. But they have such great stuff. It's not just going and walking around and seeing some art and seeing the house. They're very active there. They have programs, landscape tours, different activities and workshops. They do bird walks, which, we just actually had our wonderful episode on birds, and movie nights, outdoor concerts. So I highly recommend Olana. And then, as I mentioned, the Thomas Cole National Historic Site, which we also did an episode on with Brett Barry. Thank you, Brett. And it was just such an incredible day that we spent there. We got to do that in person. Thomas Cole House, without a doubt, is a must see. That's in Catskill. And I would be remiss if mentioning mansions if I don't say Jen and I our favorite, which would be Vanderbilt, of course. There's so many, and I'm not going to list all the mansions and all the historic sites, but Vanderbilt in Hyde Park is at the top of our list. That was one of the things we bonded about when we became friends over 30 years ago, was our love for Vanderbilt. So absolutely that one. And getting back to other episodes we've had, the Edward Hopper House Museum. We just had an episode on with our friend Brian, and that is, of course, the house and all of the artwork for wonderful Edward Hopper. So yeah, historic sites in general, there are so many of them, way too many to list, but that would be my next category.
Sweet.
Beautiful spaces for the summer.
So, all right, it's really Melane's world, and we're just living in it because I'm going to pick up on one thing she just said. You just mentioned Fishkill Farms, which is one of the places on my list because a third thing for me that screams summer is picking strawberries. And that's a kind of an early summer thing. And a lot of the places where you can go do pick your own for strawberries have other things throughout the season. So sometimes you can go back for blackberries or blueberries. So I always grew up picking at Gregg Farm in Red Hook, which is a great place to pick strawberries. They also have snap peas. And then when you get into July, they have some other berries. There's also Kelder's Farm in Kerhonkson, if you're over that way. There's Fishkill Farm, which I actually haven't been to, but when I was looking up strawberry picking places, I found that, and it looks great. And then if you're in the Orange County area, there is Lawrence Farms Orchard in Newburgh. There's really no shortage of pick your own places. And we'll put a link so you can find some of those. But to me, picking strawberries, just being there in the field and like eating them when they're still hot from the sun and you're dribbling the juice on yourself. And then you go home and you're like, oh my God, what am I now doing with 6 quarts of strawberries? But you'll figure it out. Chop them up, put a little sugar on them, let them make their own syrup in the fridge, and then put them over some chocolate ice cream. And that is summer in a bowl for me.
Nice.
Yep.
I have friends who every year they do strawberry shortcake for dinner. Like once, that's their annual tradition. They have strawberry shortcake for dinner one night.
That's lovely. That's something
I
their
really
kids will
like
probably
that.
remember forever and then do with their own kids.
Right.
That's really
Mhm.
cute. All right. Also, Rebecca loves strawberry shortcake and still has all of her strawberry shortcake dolls, as do
What's
I.
okay?
Mhm.
This is crazy because I literally just lit a candle from Goose Creek.
Yes,
That
yes.
that is strawberry
Uh-huh.
shortcake.
But look, I have my little
Yeah.
apple dumpling.
Does it still
Sits
smell?
here behind me.
I love strawberry shortcake. Well, it's funny because you say, well, I'm going to say it's just Jenny's world and we're living in it. Because
Ooh,
number 4 for me was Olana.
Mm.
And
there you go.
honestly, I mean, I've always been a huge Frederick Church fan. I love everything about Olana, but there's nothing that I can say that you have not already said. So off the cuff, I'm going to give myself a whole new topic and say ice cream.
Yeah.
Of course.
Soft serve specifically.
Yes.
So I lived in Texas for a chunk of time, 9 years almost, and they don't do soft serve over there. And I'm not talking like Dairy Queen.
No.
It's not the same
And
as
they
soft
do
serve
not understand a
here.
swirl cone. There's no
No,
such
they
thing
don't.
as a swirl.
And there
Oof.
is no, unfortunately, my husband does not like soft serve.
What?
But when I know it's very strange, but where we go also offers hard packed ice cream. So there's something for everybody. But there are so many places to go to get some ice cream around here. And number one is probably Snowman in Troy, where you have to order, well, you don't have to, but I do order a kitty size cone because the small is like, I mean, they're huge. They are absolutely ginormous. And anything bigger than a kitty is just going to start running down your arm. And they do specials and stuff like that. But so Snowman's, obviously. There is one right down the street from us. It's actually called the Ice Cream Shop in Colony. And they have tons of flavors. And it's just real fun to drive up there maybe 5 minutes and just sit outside and get a cone and eat it all up in the summertime. There's Guptals. You guys remember Guptals skating rink?
I don't know Guptals.
In Latham, there's Guptals skating rink. I've been going there roller skating since I was teeny tiny. But they also opened up an ice cream shop, and that is always flooded. But yeah, so some soft serve anywhere you go. That screams
Yes.
summer to
I
me.
agree with
Mickey's
that one.
Igloo in
Mickey's Igloo.
Kingston.
Yep.
That's
And
that's
Jolly Cow. And Jolly Cow
yes.
too.
But
Jolly cow!
Mickey's Igloo is like the OG for me because whenever we would go to Port Ewan to visit my grandparents, we would go get some Mickey's Igloo.
Mm.
Jenny, have you been
Yum.
to Zoe's in LaGrangeville? Cow to cone in 3 days. They don't mess around.
Wow.
Hudson Valley fresh milk, so good.
Cow to cone. I love that saying.
I know,
My new
right?
favorite saying. Cow to cone in 3 days.
There's some amazing
Or
dairy
less.
around here.
Yes.
Incredible dairy. And it's right here, so you get the freshest ice cream.
Love that.
It makes a difference.
It really does.
Yep. So, Melaine, what's your next one?
So again, we're just gonna do this whole full circle, bringing it all together because we talked about concerts at historic sites. We talked about other historic sites. I want to talk about gardens at historic sites.
Mm.
Right now, like this is my favorite time of year. Spring is my favorite time with all the blossoms and the bulbs and the Easter, everything that's happened. But coming up in June, the peonies at Locust Grove are something to behold, and just the scent is glorious. You talked about Vanderbilt. I love their gardens. They're spectacular. All the different gardens at the FDR Home and Library, the Rose Garden where Franklin and Eleanor are buried, the Victory Vegetable Garden that they have there, the Beatrix Ferrand Garden, which is kind of like a little secret garden there on the property. There are so many wonderful places. Innisfree out in Millbrook. If you haven't been there, Japanese, Chinese inspiration there. Some say it's one of the top 10 gardens in the world. But so if you want to hit them all, we have coming up June 28th and 29th, and then also August 2nd and 3rd, we do the Great Estates Landscape and Garden Weekends.
Wow.
So there's special events happening at them up and down the Hudson River here in Dutchess County. So go just see, explore, smell, picnic in them, do all the things that you can do there. Or some of the other blessed places, or to dine in gardens, so like Charlotte's on Route 44 in Millbrook. You can dine outside in their garden and it's
Aw.
stunning. And Shotzi's on Main Street in Poughkeepsie
Mhm.
has a secret garden in the back.
Mhm.
If you don't know about it, you got to ask. Like, I got to go sit back there in the beer garden because it's beautiful and you would have no idea that it's there.
That's a great one.
That
Nice.
reminds me of the Magazzino Italian Art Museum in Cold
Mhm.
Spring, where we were there. I don't know when we were there, August, but they've got this little kitchen garden. So there's a cafe. It's a little ways away from the art building. You've got to walk over to see the Sardinian donkeys, and then you pass by the donkeys, and there's a cafe in an outbuilding, and they've got a kitchen garden and some really beautiful blossoms. And they've got a little patio with some umbrella tables so you can sit out, and it's very much that like al fresco dining Italian moment right there in Cold Spring.
Love it.
That is great. That's a good one. Danielle?
Awesome. Yeah. So I started in late spring, early summer, and then moved into June. And now we're at July 4th. Something I've been dying to do that I haven't been able to lock in yet is the paddle pub boat rides that just started in Tarrytown and Piermont, I think 2 or 3 years ago. But basically, it's a pub on a boat that you just paddle around up and down the Hudson River. You can either start in Tarrytown or you could start in Piermont. But doing this on July 4th up and down the Hudson when every river town has barges with the fireworks and you can also see the city's fireworks is just the coolest thing. I am dying to do it. So I think they have rides every few hours and I think they're about an hour to an hour and a half long. So either going at sunset or going at 8 p.m. for peak firework is definitely the move. You can bring your own food, you can do BYOB. There are really great restaurants along the Hudson too that you can stop in. They'll package some things up for you, a lobster roll. You can get on the boat and you're out there for the night. And it's just seeing all those fireworks from the water side is just the coolest thing. So I'm really looking forward to doing that this summer.
I'm totally bookmarking that one.
I know. I'm so excited to hear all these new things.
So fun. That sounds so fun.
Yeah, it looks great.
So fun. All right. So there is something very thrilling about being outside at night, especially when it's past your bedtime when you're a little kid. So another thing that's a super nostalgic summertime throwback for me is a drive-in movie. I grew up going to the Hyde Park drive-in right across from the FDR site. So that last time I was there a couple months ago is just a grass parking lot. But there is still the Overlook drive-in, which is in Poughkeepsie, just a little further out, 4455. They say that they have the largest drive-in movie theater screen in the tri-state area. There's also the Warwick Drive-In, which is open every night. I did see on their website that they're cash only at their box office and their snack bar. Just something to know when you're planning ahead. But so they're open every night. I think they might have one night a week that's like a discount night where you could get in for like $10 a car. You can rent a radio when you get there for $5 at the snack bar if you want to. And so that to me is just super thrilling, like being out in the open air and there's fireflies and it's late, or falling asleep in the back seat while your parents are watching the second showing of the movie. And so they know what's up. They've got the snack bars. I'm sure they have soft serve, popcorn, all the things. So going to a drive-in movie is definitely on my summer bucket list.
That's how I saw The Empire Strikes Back.
Nice.
Was on the hood of the car, and because they have the speakers blast, you don't just have to be inside. But that was awesome.
So I'll go because we went a little out of order. I will go next, and drive-in movies was going to be my next one, but I have extras, so of course Jen and I think alike. All right, so if we're not going to do drive-in movies, let's talk about wineries, cideries, breweries, distilleries. Rebecca, I see your face.
I think you took Rebecca's next one.
Did I take yours? Did I take yours?
Wait, I'm like, we all share a brain.
I know. So I'm going to let you do that one, and I'm going to do another one then.
But please interject, because
I will chime in when you do it.
And I'm pretty much centralized in where that goes. So
I will definitely add to it. So another one that I have to add, and hopefully Jen doesn't have this one too, is Bannerman Castle. So Bannerman Castle is in the Hudson River near Beacon. And if you would like to hear all about Bannerman Castle, you have to check out Valley Girls episode 6 with the Gotlocks. And it's just, I won't give you all the background and history. You have to go listen to the episode for that. But just know that it is an abandoned castle in a tiny little island, Polypel Island, in the middle of the Hudson River by Beacon. And there are walking tours, kayak tours. They do movies, different events. They do dinners and fundraisers. It is incredible. And like nothing else, it is absolutely a unique experience, which is why it is in its own category. There's just no category for Bannerman other than itself. So that would be my next
It's not a drive-in movie, but they do have movies on the island in the summer.
They do. Yes.
So.
Yep. Absolutely.
I did not know that.
They do. And a lot of times they're older movies. Like it's really fun. So definitely, if you haven't checked out Bannerman Castle, I highly recommend that. For sure. And it's more of a seasonal thing. They do things late winter, spring, and then late into fall, but summer is the key time for Bannerman. So that would be my next one.
They have beautiful gardens too.
They do.
So gorgeous.
Yes, that's right. So just keeping up with that theme. All right. So we'll go to Rebecca next then.
Yes, on my list was wine tasting, specifically in the Finger Lakes. I know that New York is not
Mm.
always first on everyone's mind for having great wines, but there are a lot of great wines here, really. I mean, it's very specific because of our terroir, but there's lots from Long Island, Hudson Valley, but for me specifically, it's in the Finger Lakes. And that's probably because my friend Jackie has a lake house in Seneca Falls.
Hook us up,
And
Jackie.
so we got know what's up, Jackie. She's awesome. So my high school girlfriends and I, and there's a group of 8 of us who go up every year for a wine weekend. And we all, of course, all camp out in Jackie's lake house. But there are so many wonderful wineries up there. And there are 5 main wine trails in the Finger Lake region. There's Cayuga Lake Wine Trail, Seneca Lake Wine Trail, Canandaigua White Lake Wine Trail, Cuca, which is not the same as Cayuga, and then there's the generalized lake houses. And one of my favorites is, sorry, I'm stumbling over my words because I'm thinking about all the great wine they have up there. My favorite happens to be the Seneca Lake Wine Trail. And not only is the wine great and you can go on your tours and try what you like, but there's a lot of it has to do with just the ambiance. It's so beautiful up there, especially in the summertime where you're sipping a glass of wine and you're looking around and everything is so verdant and beautiful and the lakes are popping off. It would not be summer without having a beautiful wine tour. And Jen, or you probably could have done, Jenny, you could have done a better job at that, but
No, not at all.
I'll say this.
Uh-huh, uh-huh. Can't see it, but she's
Your
drinking
wine.
wine right now. I actually, yes, I did have wineries on my list, which I'm going to go to something else instead when it's my turn again. But
Mhm.
definitely wineries, cideries, breweries, distilleries. There's
Yeah.
just so many great craft beverages. And within the Hudson Valley, I mean, there's just, of course, that's great that you mentioned that because I am not as familiar with the Finger Lakes wine trails, more the Hudson Valley wine trails. But I just a little spattering of Robibero is one of my favorite wineries. Jen, I took you there if you
Yeah, it
remember.
was fun.
Yep, a brewery and vineyards that I went to recently, which is unbelievable, is Red Maple Vineyards and Great Life Brewing. That's really incredible. That's in Ulster County also. There's Cooper's Daughter Distillery,
Mm.
Hudson Valley Distilleries, and those are both up in Columbia County, I believe. And also going back to Ulster, Hudson House and Distillery. That's an amazing one that overlooks the river. Absolutely gorgeous. You can have events there. It's just really cool. And yeah, I can go on and on. Vosburg, Rose Hill, Angry Orchard, you name it.
Oh, I
So
love Rose Hill.
yeah,
That's another
Rose
pick your own place too.
it
That's a great
is.
place to go
It
pick
is.
apples in
Rose
the
Hill
fall.
is absolutely one of my favorites. And as Jen and I found out the last time that we were there, little fun fact, the house that is on the property that is not part of, it's not open to the public because they live in the house. There is a scene in The Sopranos where it was filmed right on that porch when somebody
Wow.
got, I don't want to give spoilers in case
Somebody
people,
got whacked.
somebody got whacked on The Sopranos. Can you imagine that? Right on
Well,
that porch.
what's great also is if you don't have a partner who likes wine, like my husband doesn't like wine. Weird, I know. And if you're going with a partner instead of a group of girlfriends, the breweries are amazing. So
Hmm.
there's always something for everybody.
Well, that's what I love it. It's like you got the distilleries, the cideries, and all
Yeah.
of that. So there's so much out there. So sorry to jump on yours, but
No,
I
please
so
expand. I want to hear all of it.
Yeah, I got
love it.
I got to plug Millbrook Winery too for
Of
my mom.
course.
That's her favorite, the Hunt Country Red and
Oh, yeah, I
their
know. I could
whites.
keep on
Yeah.
going.
Mm.
Yep.
So good. So good. So it was not my turn. So I will now pass it on to Melaine.
So I grew up near Ithaca, so yes to Finger Lakes wines. The Hudson Valley is the oldest winemaking region in the country, though, so we have to give our own region our props too.
Okay.
That
Yes to Bannerman, all of that. They're doing a Robbie Burns supper coming up in July, even though Robbie Burns' birthday is in January and Burns suppers are in January. You can't go to the island in January, so they're doing it in July. Six
yep.
months later, who cares? It'll be great. But so fun, everything that they've got going there. Yes to the drive-ins. I want to add Four Brothers Drive-In out in
That was on
Amelia.
my list. Yeah.
It's more, they just had their 10-year anniversary last year, I think, or the year before. But you can spend the night there. They have 2 Airstream trailers, one for 2 people and one for 4 people. So it's pretty far out there. But if you want to watch your double feature and spend the night, that's great. You'll see a lot of celebrities hanging out there you might spot. A
That's
lot
so
of folks in the
cool.
area. And they have really cool neon. They do car hop service from the restaurant there to your car. It's
Cool.
fantastic. So it feels super nostalgic, but it's really not that old. They made this wonderful place though. So yes to drive-in movies. So that's everybody else's. But now talking about the Hudson River, so I was going to talk about Bannerman because the Hudson River, but you can take a boat, take a kayak if you want a kayak, do the Rip Van Winkle out of the Rondout in Kingston.
Mhm.
You can do a small boat tour like nothing but time sailing out of Poughkeepsie. You can do the Hudson River Sloop Clearwater. So there's just get out on the river, enjoy the river. We don't have those paddle pubs, but I think that sounds awesome. But do enjoy the Hudson River. That is the thing that connects us all.
That is a great one. That is really good. I love how it's all pulling together.
Yep.
Danielle, on to you.
Yeah. So something that's started again within the past 3 or 4 years, probably coming out of COVID, are a bunch of the different flea markets that are touring around in different villages. So we have the Phoenicia flea that stops in Dobbs Ferry once or twice a summer, and then also a big one here is the Hastings on Hudson flea market. Those tend to run, I believe, in June and September. There might be a few in July and August as well, but they are typically on the water. So it's just a really nice day out. You grab an iced coffee in one hand, your canvas bag in the other, and you're just ready to go all afternoon. And then there are food trucks and typically bands. I'm personally shopping for a nursery, so I'm always bopping around the flea markets and the antique
Yay.
shops. So making the baby girl a shopper for sure from day one.
Yay.
So, so yeah, that's what I'm looking forward to. It's just a really nice Saturday or Sunday afternoon locally. It's really fun.
Yeah, that sounds dreamy,
That does
actually.
sound dreamy.
Oh, the
Yeah.
flea markets are so great. There's so
Yeah.
many of them, and around here you can, like, back in Texas, they're all the time. Here you have to get it while the getting's good.
Yeah.
hmm
Yeah.
And I will add, in addition to flea markets, farmers markets, street festivals,
For
there's
sure.
just so much going on. That was a whole other category that I had at one point, was farmers markets. I'm not going to list it. Every town's got their own farmers market, but I just also love the street festivals too, like Rosendale Street Festival. So love that idea. I had not thought about flea markets, so that's a really, really good one. So for my next one, I am going to say, just sticking to the outdoors theme, sanctuaries and nature preserves. So again, I will give a plug to our bird episode that we just had. So all of the Audubon sanctuaries throughout the Hudson Valley absolutely need to make the list. But there's also additional wildlife sanctuaries that are right here in the Hudson Valley. We have Nyquist Harcourt Wildlife Sanctuary in New Paltz. There's Esopus Meadows Preserve in Ulster Park, one of my favorite little areas, John Burroughs Nature Sanctuary, as well as Slabsides, John Burroughs Slabsides. They're right next to each other. Slabsides is actually the log cabin that was built by John Burroughs and his son on a 9-acre wooded and hilly track back in late 1800s. So that's like the West Park Highland area. And pretty much almost right across the street is Black Creek Preserve, which I know Jen knows a bit about. We have some great pictures of our kids when they were little at Black Creek. So Black Creek Preserve in Esopus. There's also Falling Waters Preserve in Saugerties.
Mm.
Norrie Point in Statsburg, and one of the ones that my husband and stepson love, love, love to go to is, I'm going to pronounce it wrong probably, but Chopanique Ridge Park. That is in a really beautiful area. So I would say that would be my next one, is just looking at animal, wildlife, bird sanctuaries, and nature preserves, which often have beautiful trails.
Nice. So I have one final thing on my summer wish list, but before that, I'm going to take a short detour. So, Melaine, when I found you online and I was going to reach out to you for this episode, the first email I sent you, I got an out of office message back from you. And you said, I am out of the office attending Destination International's CEO Summit, where I'm excited to present on our award-winning Accessible Duchess program. So we talk a lot about accessibility, especially for outdoor events. Jenny has talked a lot about how she has some mobility issues, and we want all of these wonderful things to be accessible to everybody. So I would love to hear a little bit about the work that you've done with Accessible Duchess.
Yeah, thank you for that. Here in Dutchess County, the Think Differently initiative was started, gosh, almost 10 years ago now by our then county executive, Mark Molinaro. He has a daughter who is on the autism spectrum, and he really wanted people to be aware of making sure that we're treating everyone with kindness and patience and respect, and to think differently about all our friends and neighbors and how we live and work together. And so that movement really focused a lot on people on the autism spectrum and doing different events. We've hosted Special Olympics here. We hosted an event called the Think Differently Dash. It was a walk or run of a mile. There's all different things that we've done, but the Think Accessible movement, we had some ARPA money, so a grant money, and so we could pour into it some training for our different properties here, and also just awareness and assessment. So we found a partner called Wheel the World, WHEEL, the world. And they were brand new. We were client number 3, and I wanted to learn. And they're an online booking agency. So wheeltheworld.com. You can go if you're a person who has a disability and you want to check out different travel experiences. They're kind of a clearinghouse for it. And so we partnered with them, and they came and assessed. Now we're up to 53 of our hotels, restaurants, and attractions for accessibility. So they've taken measurements of doors and bed heights and
Wow.
sinks, and took photos of everything. And so hotels have assessments of more than 100 items, and for other places it's a little bit less, looking to make sure that there's smooth transitions of doorways, there's electric doorways, there's other things you can do. And so we're not saying that we're 100% accessible for everyone. We're saying everyone's disability is different. And so this is a way to know before you go, to find out through our Duchess page, or if you want to go somewhere else, you can look them up and see if they're a partner on the site. But you can see before you go, is this a good place for me or the person I'm traveling with? I look at our parents as they age. I look at my own self. My brother just had his hip replaced and he's younger than me. And so sometimes it's a temporary, sometimes it's a permanent thing, sometimes it's a progressive thing. Even parents with strollers. I think about all the times with the stroller, I was trying to get somewhere and I couldn't do it. And so this is a website that shows how accessible our properties are. And so we're really excited to grow that. There's training that comes along with that. So it's not enough to be physically accessible, but you have to know how to treat people the way that they need to be treated. So it's a work in progress. We continue to grow, but we celebrate the milestones that we achieve. On our website, there's a page that you can go to for accessibility. You'll scroll down and you see our ABCs. Letter A is accessibility, and you can find out there's spotlights. So there's a great spotlight on Heritage Financial Park and the baseball stadium. Not only do they have the sensory sensitive suite, but the brand new club lounge they have, the elevators they have, the ramps there. They're just the Bardavon, the things that they have, the audio loops that they have for people who have hearing impairments, all the different things. So we'll do different spotlight focuses on the Dutchess County Fair, which is going to be my number one must do of the summer. They do Think Differently Thursdays and all the different accessibility features that they have there at the fairgrounds for all the different events they have. So the Dutchess County Fair is my number one must do thing of the summer every single year, and for all the reasons. But yeah, we're really excited to continue to grow our accessibility. It's one of those things you'll never be done, and that's okay, but you make a plan. And we have 2 really great videos on our YouTube channel with Wheel the World. One of them with some influencers we had called the Inclusive Traveler. They came in from Chicago and we had them here for 3 days. We took them to the old Rhinebeck Aerodrome. We went to Handcrafted Oktoberfest at the Dutchess County Fairgrounds. They stayed at the Heartwood Inn, which is a brand new facility, very accessible hotel by Vassar College there on Raymond Avenue. My gosh, we went to Zeus Brewing Company. We took them so many places and they had the best time. We did the FDR home and library and Vanderbilt, but we had a great time with them. So there's a video showing their travels through the county and how accessible it was. At Desai Sake Brewery, also very accessible. And then there's a one we produce for our industry partners. And so when I was at the CEO Summit, we were able to share that video with other tourism offices around the country and around the world to say, here's what we did, here's how we did it. And the most important thing is to just start wherever you are. You don't have to solve all the problems today, but you do have to start and you do have to make progress. And so we're here to encourage and support everyone who's working to make their properties more accessible for everyone.
That's so cool. I
I
love
really,
that. That's great work.
it's really impressive. And as somebody with physical limitations and chronic health issues, chronic pain issues, it's so important. Jen and I have even gone to a few places where I'm like, all right, you go ahead and I'll wait right here. And we didn't realize it was an area that I wasn't going to be able to walk into. I'm not wheelchair bound, but I can't walk to certain places. So I really am very impressed by that. That's really great. I'm going to have to check a lot of that out. Thank
Well,
you.
and we try to talk to different properties and things as we know construction is happening in new buildings. I've just learned so much too. Some of them are so easy fixes. You think about hotels or places that put a garbage can in front of the button for the elevator and you
Hmm.
can't just move. Like it's not hard. It doesn't cost you anything. Just don't put it there. But even in construction, I was in a new building recently when I was traveling and the elevator was on the opposite far side from the front door. So if you're in a wheelchair, that's not a problem. But if you have trouble walking,
That's
you got to
exactly
walk
right.
all the way over there. Like that's insane. It's just trying to create that awareness for people and architects and designers and other people to say, hey, this doesn't work for us. We really need to make that change. So we're doing our best.
Well,
That's great.
brava.
Kudos.
That is great stuff.
Yeah, that is really great.
All right, my last one is a quickie, but I grew up going to summer camp. I used to go to the summer camp at the YWCA on Bancroft Road when that still existed. And so I have very fond memories of making all kinds of fun but useless crafts in the summertime, all those lanyards, all those friendship bracelets. So one thing I really want to do this summer is do something crafty. And I'm not inherently crafty. So I would love to find a class or take some lessons to do something crafty. We have so many resources for that. Some that I was looking at, the Fallkill Creative Works in Poughkeepsie, they've got lots of clay stuff. You can do hand building, intro to wheel. I would love to do that and just get messy and get my hands in some clay. There's the Hudson Valley Atelier, and they have all kinds of cool stuff. You can take paper quilling, felting, basket weaving, embroidery basics, and they've got classes and events and workshops that they do all over the place, all over the whole region. They've got stuff that's on BOCES campuses, at the Goshen Library. They've got stuff down in Bronxville, in Kingston. So that's one I definitely want to look into. And then one of our very earliest episodes, we talked to our friend Andrea at Cloverbrook Farm in Hyde Park, and they have the llamas and alpacas. And so she's got a bunch of crafty classes that she hosts there on the farm. You can do soap making, you could make your own loofah, all kinds of stuff. So I feel like I need to do something creative and crafty because that's really summery for me.
That is such a great one. And I'm so glad you mentioned Andrea because I feel like that's another place for me that's in a category all on its own. I want to go walk with llamas. I do yoga.
Llama stay.
Namaste.
Llama stay, the llama
I
stay.
love that.
I know. And you could just, taking walks, I think with donkeys was the other one.
Yes.
And so that is actually, I'm so glad that you mentioned her because that is a destination for me for this summer for sure.
Well, so there you go. You could just have a donkey list. You can go see the donkeys at Magazzino. You can
That's a
go see the
category.
donkeys at Andrea's.
Who knew?
Tell us any place else we can go hang out with donkeys.
Who knew there were so many donkeys in Hudson Valley? It's crazy. Actually,
Like the
some
Dutchess County
people,
Fair.
yeah, some people actually just have them. My husband and I went camping in like the Accord area, not too far from us in Hurley, and we were in this tiny little cabin in the middle of the woods, nothing around for miles, and all of a sudden we're just sitting peacefully at the campfire, and we heard this hee-haw, like out of nowhere. We had no idea where it was coming from. Turns out there was a farm nearby and they had donkeys, and all night long these donkeys were hee-hawing. And so I now know that there's donkeys in Accord too.
You do a
somewhere.
really good donkey sound effect, by the way.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Speaking of good sound effects, let's see what Rebecca's got. I don't know
Yes.
why I said that.
Hi. Well,
Pressure.
my first four were all about nostalgia. So this one is very new, but it is very dear to my heart, especially since now is a really important time to uplift and support your LGBTQIA plus community and your local artisans. It's very important to support them right now. And as some of you know, I am a burlesque dancer. And so my last thing on my bucket list was the Burley Picks Mid-Atlantic Regionals, which is very exciting because this is the first time this is coming to Albany. in our area. This is a national competition for burlesque and variety performers, but this one specifically is there's regionals. There's 5 regionals. Southeast is in Louisville, Great Basin is in Las Vegas, Mountain is in Denver, Southwest is in Amarillo, and the Mid Atlantic is in Schenectady, New York. I am actually not going to be involved in the competition itself because I am helping behind the scenes, which is really exciting. So we're inviting a whole bunch of people in from just all different areas in New York, and the entire region actually. And it is brought to us by some of my very close friends at the Gilded Plume Productions, Cherish and Mimi Meshuggah. And it is going to take place on July 12th at the Van Dyke, which is pretty historic, at Stella Bistro, and that is in Schenectady. The place is absolutely gorgeous. And something like this, you really want the ambiance behind it. And this place is fantastic. The venue is gorgeous. The food is amazing. I recommend their arancini, which I know is right up your alley. And there's also going to be local vendors to peruse, and we're going to have great sponsors. And it's just going to be a great night of glamour and innovative and entertaining acts, and just showcasing some of the top local and regional talent. And like I said, it's so important to show up for this community and to say that we are the masters of what we present. This is very feminist. You're going to see it's not just burlesque, although that is a very big part. It is also drag. You might see stand-up comedy, sword swallowing, hoops, all number of variety acts. And it's going to be really interesting. And the person who wins this regional will go on to perform at the nationals, which is really exciting opportunity for a local artist to have that opportunity to go and showcase at a national level. So I highly recommend anyone who's in the area to go check it out. And if you're not in the area, seek out the shows that are in your area, because burlesque is thriving all throughout New York, and there's some really great pockets of burlesque and drag, and please support. So that's my last on my bucket list.
Thank you.
So, there's that meme that's like, I don't know the secret of happiness, but I do know I've never been sad at a Mexican restaurant. That's how I feel about going to a burlesque show.
Yes.
I don't know the secret of happiness, but I have never not had fun at a burlesque event.
100%. It's not just a great girls' night out. It's a great date night because it showcases everybody. It's for everybody, and I mean that quite literally. It's you get to see representation, because representation, as we all know, is so important. When you see someone doing something that looks like you go, "Oh, I can do that." And you get this boost of confidence where you're more willing to put yourself out there if that's your comfortability. So, yeah.
Thank you. I love that one. Melaine, I think we already know what your last one is, but please
So
indulge
just
us.
the rundown of the fair. The first thing you do when you walk in the doors, you got to get in line for your Dutchess County Dairy Association milkshake in the 4-H building. That's the number one thing you got to do. Then you got to go to see all the tractors and the animals. Don't forget the funky chickens and the fuzzy bunnies. And then you got to go to the horticulture building and see all the landscape designs. And then upstairs is the competition for the local growers of flowers and farmers. And Pat Adams and his wife from Adams Fairacre Farms are twisting my arm to enter my flowers this year, and that's so I might have to do that.
Do
So
it. What do you grow?
All kinds of stuff. And my grandparents used to do that in Pennsylvania. They're very involved in the Tioga County Fair and Grange and all that. So I spent summers doing that with them. So as I think this year might be the first time where I enter whatever looks good at that time of year in the fair. We'll see what that is. But yeah, so all the great fair food, like, you just can't go wrong. And it opens at 10 a.m. It closes at 10 p.m. It's August 19th through the 24th, 6 days, Tuesday to Sunday. I never miss it except for the COVID year, and that was so hard. But it is my favorite thing to do all summer long.
Many others' favorites as well. So that's a great one. Absolutely. And there's so many other county fairs within the Hudson Valley as well. So if you can't make it up to Dutchess, definitely check out the county fairs in your area as well. Those are so much fun. Danielle?
Yeah. So for my last one, I was thinking a little bit more on the nostalgia side. Something that my parents always did. We didn't have a pool growing up, so my parents always did a staycation at the local hotel or something like that. And so my husband and I continue to do something of the sort, whether it's in the Catskills or if it's up in Maine or whatever it is. But what we were looking to do this year is a staycation at a local Airbnb just in the river towns or in Greenwich, Connecticut, which I know is doesn't count here, but it's only 25 minutes from Tarrytown, so it's really not that bad. But we're looking at a mid to late August when most people are away, most families go away during that time, and the businesses are suffering. And so we want to kind of stay around and support. So doing an Airbnb somewhere on the water overlooking the Hudson, or if you do go into Greenwich or somewhere in Connecticut overlooking the ocean, it's something that we'll do for a long weekend. It's a great late August activity before Labor Day weekend shows up.
That sounds lovely and very relaxing too. It's like a
Yes.
change of scenery, but you don't have to, you're
Totally.
just driving there. You're driving half an hour. You don't have to stress and overpack and everything else. That sounds
Yeah,
perfect.
and you can play
Yeah.
tourist in your own villages or even
That's
in
the
the villages
best.
nearby.
That's
Yep.
actually should be
Yeah.
a category on its own. Just be a tourist in
Yeah.
your own area because most of us do not do that. So
Yep.
that's a great idea. That is a
I
great
saw a
idea.
quote. Everybody says to live like a local, and really, we should encourage locals to live like a traveler.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
Hmm.
go
Brilliant.
spend at that super duper restaurant in your hometown that you don't go to. Go to the historic sites, read every sign that there is, pose for goofy photos and all those Instagram spots and things, but live like a tourist in your town and really appreciate everything that's around you. Because we live in a world class destination. People save their money all year long and plan and fly and drive to get here where we live. So don't take it for granted.
So true. And you do take it for granted. Honestly, one of the best things to do is have an out of town friend come and visit you,
Hmm.
because then you're going to get out and you're going to do the stuff that you normally take for granted because you're like, yeah, I know that stuff's cool, but I can go to Olana anytime. It's been there for 150 years. It's not going anywhere. So get somebody to come and visit you, make it their summer vacation, and then you get to play tourist and tour guide.
Yes. Yeah. And it's interesting because one of the categories that I ended up not doing because I assumed somebody was going to do camping. So that's funny, Jen, you mentioned that before about North South Lake. So I left out camping, but one of the categories was camping and Catskills in general. So that's another thing is for me, I love to just take a weekend and whether it's camping or a cabin, tent camping or a cabin, just going and staying right near me in the Catskills for a weekend and going to all the local places that tourists go to in those areas. So another one that was in my Catskill thing was the fire towers. It's such a cool thing to do the fire tower challenge. There's, of course, I think, what is it, five of them? There's Balsam Lake, Hunter Mountain, Overlook, Red Hill, and Tremper. So yeah, there's five of them. And this year they're doing like a challenge. I don't know if they did that last year, but you take a picture at each of the ones and you send it in. You can win prizes. And so was not one of my official ones, but definitely Catskills in the Fire Tower Challenge.
And back when we did our episode about the Catskill Visitor Center, when we talked to
Yes.
Alexa back then, we actually talked about the fire tower that's at the Catskill Visitor Center, which is also really close to the Phoenicia Diner. That one is actually accessible, and you can do it with mobility devices or strollers. So that's another great way. I'm sure that people who have mobility challenges are like, yeah, I don't think I'm climbing any towers. That is actually one that you can enjoy, no matter
Exactly.
your level of abilities.
And that brings me to my actual last category, which has to do with accessibility. And that is I was big hiker, big time hiker. I love hiking, the peaks and all that. Can't quite do that anymore, but I can always do the rail trails. And the rail trails, we have such an amazing plethora of different rail trails. Of course, there's the Hudson Valley Rail Trail, but even up in Albany, you've got the Helderberg Hudson Rail Trail. You've got the Ashokan Rail Trail, which is absolutely gorgeous over by the reservoir, the Duchess Rail Trail. There is also a Harlem Valley Rail Trail, Hook Mountain, which is down in Nyack. And new in Kingston now, we have the Kingston Green Line, which is like 20 miles and it's got all different access points. And you can see the Hudson River through that as well, and all through the Kingston neighborhoods. And then there's also one in the Middletown area, which is the Orange Heritage Trailway. So I know there's tons more in Putnam County and Port Jervis, I think. Anyway, there's a lot of them, but rail trails would be my last category. And they really can be utilized year round. But as we're getting outside more this time of of year. I definitely encourage people to. And you can bike, hike, walk, anything. You can bring strollers, you can bring wheelchairs, and just it's a great way to see some of the beautiful sights that we have in this region and not have to feel like I have to climb to the top of a huge mountain to see these views. So,
And you could just do a little segment. Remember when we went to one of our other favorite places, the Harney and Sons Tea Company in
yes,
Millerton?
yes,
There's that little stretch of the trail right there. You can just walk out there for 5-10 minutes, look at the
yes,
water, turn around, and go back and get a cup of tea. So,
that is a
although
great
I will
point.
tell you that my son is obsessed with getting this device for Jenny. He brings it up at least once a
So
month.
funny.
He wants to get you one of these wheelchairs with the big tank crawler wheel, like a snowmobile wheel, so that you can go hiking with us anywhere.
I love it. He's so sweet. So, yeah, it's such a great way to, as you said, I think that's a really good point that you don't have to necessarily do the entire rail trail. All of them are so accessible, have multiple access points where you could just go a few minutes in and a few minutes back out. And all of them have great parking. And so rail trails would be my last one. And two things that I just want to add really quick. One thing I meant to mention when I was talking about Minnewaska, actually, I just recently learned myself, being a huge Severance fan. I don't know how many of you watch Severance. I had no idea because I just caught up on it. So I just watched season one, the binge season 1 and 2 together. So I had no idea that that was filmed all right here. A lot of it right in Kingston, which blew me away. And now, like, of course, like, duh, I can see that. But one of the great episodes, Woe's Hollow, I think it was called, was right there in Minnewaska. So when Irving's standing on the frozen lake, that's actually Lake Minnewaska. And so that whole episode was filmed there, which is really, really cool.
And they filmed
And
a ton at Phoenicia Diner.
yes, that the Pips, right? Pips in the show is Phoenicia Diner. That's right. And the Zufu Chinese restaurant is Eng's right on Broadway in
Yeah.
Kingston.
Oh,
So
cool.
yeah, there's a lot of, I was like completely blown away by all of the sites that were filmed locally. The other thing I did want to mention as we're plugging all these other episodes, we were talking about wineries. So if you want to learn more about Hudson Valley Winery, and I learned the word terroir from Jen and Debbie in this episode, as Rebecca so beautifully said before, that Debbie Jaquindo, she is the Hudson Valley goddess, and she was our first episode of the season back in January. So definitely check that out if you want to learn more about Hudson Valley wine. Well, thank you guys so much. This is just, I
So
just
fun.
love this. This is so fun. I feel like we could talk for a whole other hour, and there's probably tons of categories that people listening to this are going to say, oh, they didn't mention this place, or they didn't mention doing this, and all the great waterfronts and all the great boat, all of it. So,
I'm so glad that you're going to have everything on the site. So
yes.
I can go back and go, okay, what was all of that?
Same.
Because I'm hearing it and I'm not writing it down because I'm working on going, so she's
Yeah.
going to have that written down for
Well,
everybody.
Jen has already been taking notes because that's what she does. And she's going to go back through this episode and take all the notes. And we will have all of this posted on the episode page, possibly a blog post. We'll see how it all plays out. So we won't have all the links on the show notes. So if you're listening to this and you check the show notes and you want to know where to get all the information, hop on over to our website, valleygirlspodcast.com. And if you have any additional places that we did not mention, please hit us up and let us know where you like to go during the summer.
Yeah, well, we'll be happy to add all the listener favorites onto that blog post. So hit us up with all the ones we forgot that you like. I can't believe you left this one out. We want to know.
Absolutely. Great. Thank you all so much. This was so much fun.
So
Thank
fun.
you
Thanks
for
for
having
having
us.
you.
It's great.
Talk to you guys soon.
Bye.
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 Thank you. And thank you to everyone for listening. Please like and subscribe, rate and review, because as we know, it all helps tremendously. Do you love the Valley Girls? Tell a friend. Have ideas for the podcast? Tell us. The easiest way to chat with us is our Facebook group, Valley Girls Podcast Pod Squad, or you can contact us through our website, valleygirlspodcast.com, where you can also sign up for our newsletter so you never miss a thing. And of course, we're on Instagram at Valley Girls Pod NY. We can't wait to hear from you. Oh, and do you love our theme music as much as we do? The music for this episode is by Robert Burke Warren, entitled Painting a Vast Blue Sky, and can be found on his album Redheaded Friend, available on iTunes and Spotify, and at the link in the show notes. Bye for now.